Hello everybody, this is TechStack here. We're back with more RTS work. And I think we're just going to jump right into it. Let's fire this off so we can get a look at what's changed since yesterday. Or no, the day before, wasn't it? Because I couldn't stream last night. Textures, right? We've got textures for things. And CZ's been going to town making textures for us, so more textures for us, because textures. Once this finally loads, I'll show you what we're doing there. I also got this going on, right? So I wanted to... Hey, Eagle, you're first with the F. We got this going on where we're going to be adding in configs for the units for their cost, right? We need to start building out the cost for all the units, and I want them to 100% be driven off of the configs in the system. So there is that. Oh, and this world. This world is something special. I forgot. I did not set up any team in this world. I let the mod add the teams to the world because I've added that now, and they automatically set up the colors for them too, right? So red is red, blue is blue, green is green, and yellow is yellow. Yeah, so that's cool. Then textures, right? So we've got the textures for everything has a texture. Now, there are some missing textures, yes, for blocks that CZ hasn't added the top two. And then the archery range is the only builder item. So the builder items are using the blocks completely. So we've got textures for everything. It's just we need a couple sides for the archery range block. And these two really aren't not going to be in our initial build that we're going to play with, right? So these two are not going to be important. But this means that we've got a texture for everything. Know what you're talking about? There's pink right there. So that's what we've done off stream, I guess. Let's get into this stuff. So the minions, we've got food, waterstone, gold, diamonds, and emeralds set up for variables. Now we need to actually add them to our configs. I think the next way we want to do this is set up another method for each config category, if you will, and build it that way. It'll just be simpler long term, I think. So let's set up not general, but what are we calling this one? Unit cost. Unit cost. And this is something we don't have defined what the cost should be for these things. So it's going to be very, very vague as to what it is that we're going to actually have. So let's see. Unit cost. And this is going to change the comment on each one of these. 788 subs. Getting so close, man. That is game mode. We want... Gosh, how are we going to do this without making me go crazy? Unit IT cost minion food. Defines the cost in food for the minion. There we go. And the cost minion food. And it's not an enum. We want to define an integer. Define int. Define in range. I guess we could do that. Just do a define. What's that give us? Nope. We need something that returns an integer type. An int value, I guess it is. Define in range it is. Okay, and we need the default value in here. Let's default it to, gosh, I don't know. Let's give it a minimum of 0, a max of integer dot max value. Okay, that makes it easy. That way you can go all the way up to the maximum energy value. I don't know why you would want to, but you can. I'm almost wondering if that should be like a quarter of that, because that's ridiculous. Yeah, let's do something more reliable, non-game breaking, because 7F, so it's 2 to the 32nd minus 1, so calculator please, 2 to the 32nd power minus 1. That's 4 billion. That's ridiculous. Let's make it like a still ridiculous value, but something that allows you to collect that much, like 100,000, right? Oops, we don't want that extra comma there. So 100,000. Okay, default value. So for food for a minion, what should the default value be? I don't know. Let's take a quick peek at my Fire. At my spreadsheet that I have with CZ and see if we've got units on here for their cost. I don't think we do. Oh, we have some. Yes. Okay, so we have some, but I think we were just throwing out numbers, but that's better than nothing. So we'll put those in there as our starting values. So it's 6 for food. And we just keep repeating this until we get all of the types defined. So wood, stone, iron, gold. Diamond, emerald. We ended up with snow here, Fiery, but it wasn't really that much, really. I mean, it covered the grass and everything, but nah. So what? Hey, Zach. I'm assuming you got more than us.
Yeah. Yeah, we wound up with like 5 inches.
Dying. Got a lot more.
Yeah, we're expecting more tomorrow, too.
Really? I haven't looked at the weather that far ahead.
Yeah, it's supposed to start somewhere around noon. Be nice and slippery right when I'm getting out of work.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Wood.
And then if that wasn't bad enough, we cracked a record for record lows today.
I'm surprised if we had cracked one too, but I just didn't pay attention to it that much. It was pretty cold out when I was letting the dog out, I can say that.
Yeah, it got down to 8 degrees today.
Ouch. So we don't have any emeralds, any diamonds for these. We have a gold requirement of 2, which is probably a bit stiff. 3 for that. Stone. I'm not sure why we need stone to make a minion, but we've got it on the list, so we'll put it in here. And 5. Okay. And let's copy all of this. Make another one for the archers.
Well, if they're archers, you could say the stones are used for their arrowheads.
Yes, but that was for the minions.
Shh, I'm trying to help.
Yeah, I know. I know. Archers actually need more gold iron than minions, according to the spreadsheet. Yeah, I think the spreadsheet's just values we threw out and not really real. Or have too much thought in it.
I was gonna say, wouldn't minions need more iron?
I would think so.
You know, swords, armor.
And what I was initially thinking was like iron and gold and stuff probably wouldn't be used for the minions initially until you start upgrading stuff. Because I kind of have a different thought process on how we should upgrade units. Basically, it's like a minion's a minion, and he walks out and he's got his fist, right? And then in order to give him a sword, you need wood. If you want them to have a stone sword, you need stone. I mean, you know, so I'm saying, like, it depends on what type of unit that you want, or what you want him to carry, as to what cost there will be. So let's try and cheat with my coding here. Archer. Cool, we replaced all those, and then we want to replace this word minion with archer, and we want this to be case sensitive. And we're going to do it in selected lines again. Okay, and then we're going to do it here. CZ's being pretty precise.
Right.
6 minutes exactly.
All right, man, you're on the clock.
Okay, so 5 food, 5 wood. So I would think that an archer would need more wood than a minion. 3 for his bow.
Yeah.
Iron is 5. Gold is 3. Now he's more expensive on the higher end items, I guess. That's probably what CZ's thinking. Okay, so terminate this. So now I've got my variables set up to hold the cost. We need to make sure we're calling this, I guess. That would help. This feels horribly inefficient way to code this, but I don't know of a better way yet. So we're gonna go with it. Unless... is there? That would be awesome if there's like an array we can do. Dot define. No. Lots of enums in range list.
So I started a server for a couple of the guys over the weekend.
For what game?
For Minecraft.
Did you?
Playing Infinity Evolved FAQ 1710.
1710.
And I figured out how to set the RAM.
Nice.
Yeah. So I stuffed 8 gigs into that. Running actually pretty decently.
I'll bet. Hey, Tinkerbell. So next we need to look at where we're building the unit, I guess, and see if we have what that unit needs to build it. Yeah, that's it. Let's create a new method here, and we'll call it public have boolean has needed resources. And this is going to be a pain in the butt. Is what this is going to be. So initially, it's going to spawn the same unit, so I don't need to look at the different costs for the different add-ons that they can have, like armor and stuff. So we can take those variables from the config file and use them. So we need to look and see where we're using this and do the same. So on load, we are doing this to it. Okay. So that's going to be our syntax we need. And these are the variables we need. So that's also going to be commented out for the moment. So we're going to say wah, I don't want to do this. This is getting harder the longer I think about it. Team, no. I need team info for the specific team we're doing. Utilities. There should be something about resources in here somewhere, right?
Sure.
Add resources to team. Let's add another check here. So public static void boolean has needed resource. And we're going to take the string of a team name and a team info resources as int amount. Hola.
Hello.
That'll get our information there. ti.get resources. I think that returns a specific resource, right? It does.
So I'm late. What's the plan today?
Working on getting the cost set up for the units and forcing the cost to be enforced when we're spawning them from the blocks. Making it into a game, basically, instead of just a spawn machine.
Nice.
I thought we were trying to take over the world.
That's what we do every night.
So did you see the comment in that Reddit thread about the Bagger 288?
Yes, I did.
I thought at one point it was in the mod.
It's in there. It's ugly, but it's in there.
Okay.
It's greater than or equal to the amount.
Yeah, I keep wanting Blue Boy to make that thing look good. Somebody is being a little reluctant about it.
Yeah.
I thought it was taken out because there was just no way to properly balance that. Like it is already. It's not a mod made for realism. It's made to
It
just have
got
fun.
balance. It's like ultra slow now.
It's ultra slow and it sucks fuel faster than it probably should. So we need our team names, so we need to get our team. So let's cache that. So
Like,
team.
honestly, to put it into perspective, you could literally mine more stuff with the laser miner or the continuous miner than you could with the bagger, because you could actually move around.
Yeah. The continuous miner's OP. That's what the post was about, Fire, if you didn't say it. Is that it's OP, but it's fun.
It's a tier 2 machine, right?
Yeah.
So unless you cheat it in, you've got to do a lot of stuff to get to that.
Yeah, you're not just sitting on your thumbs getting it.
Yeah, no.
So OP, I don't know that I completely agree with that, but if you just spawn one in, yeah, it's OP.
In fact, let me go look at that Reddit post. I haven't even.
Team info.
Did you put it in chat?
No, Red did in the other
It's
Discord.
in the TS Craft Discord.
That
not
old
the
one,
tech
ew.
stack.
So it's easy. The way I'm coding this will work, but I'm not happy with the way I'm coding it. because the moment we add another resource, I'm gonna have to go and add a bunch of code to a bunch of different spots, and I don't like that.
So, technically speaking, what are the resources? Is it values in a list for each player, or is each resource like a class?
So there's a team info class that has an array of integers, and the index in that array corresponds to a specific resource, right? So index value 0 might be food, and 1 might be wood, and so on. So it's an array of integers. I defined it as a class each because I wanted each team to have their own setup, right? So I just instantiate a different instance of that class for each team. So there's a team info class for green, there's a team info class for green, there's a team info class for red, and so on. And each one of those has the array of integers that is the amounts that they currently have.
And so to give resources, you are incrementing a certain value in a list, or is it one of those Java enum types?
It's an array, so it's a completely different
Array,
concept
okay.
from a list in Java is something different than a list in Python, if that's what you're referring to.
So how do you increment just one index value in an array? I guess
Gotcha.
you don't need to teach me Java.
Right here, add resources takes in the resource type, which is an enum, to make it easier for me to code. And I just call add resources on it. Let me look, see what I did there. I literally just take the, oh, which one is it? Add resources. The ordinal value of the enum. So is it the first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, etc. So that's the index within that array, and add one to it, or add the amount to it. Could be one.
What
could be lower.
when is the add resource function called?
It's going to be in the tile entities that gather the resources, right? So every time they get to do their work. So I've kind of abstracted things way more than I did before.
Okay.
Where before I would write the same code on all my tile entities. Now I've got a parent class that just says, this is a tile entity that has a cooldown, right? And it runs this cooldown, and when the cooldown's done, call this method, right? So that tile entity handles the processing of the cooldown, and I don't have to code that in every single tile entity I create then, right? I just make that the parent class and write out the, what's it called? Action after cooldown method. I just fill in the guts of that on each child class. And in the case of my resource gathering ones, it's to add the resources.
And then each child class could also have different cooldowns in that case, right? You pass the cooldown value when you're calling the parent.
So when I'm in the parent class, I can create, where is it? The cooldown amount that gets reset by. I just need to turn that into a method instead of a variable that returns whatever that child class should specifically have. I was planning on doing it, I just haven't done it yet.
That's good. That's how the same sort of way that I would probably set it up if I was going to have to do it.
Knowing now what I know now, yes, this is a better way of doing it. The way I did it before works, but it was more along the lines of, I'm only going to have one tile entity in my mod about a bunch of entities, right? And it ended up having like 20 or 30 probably. So I just went from the ground up and assuming I'm going to make a bunch. And the other benefit of that is those pieces of information, like the cooldown reset time and the cooldown remaining, stuff like that, need to be added to the MBT data when you save the block. So it's more than just in the loop, you have to subtract one every tick, right? It's a series of pieces of information you need to deal with, and it's easier to do it in that one class than in every single class you create going forward. So we need to get this type of, oh wait, we already did that. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing. There. Okay, and then we say dot your name. And we repeat this one for each of the resources then. Maybe I need to abstract this a little bit here so that I don't have to check each one of these. I can pass in an array. That's an option too. Like in loading of these config values, I could spool them up into their own array right off the bat. There's wood. Hey Reaper, you snuck in while we were talking, I didn't notice.
Hello.
Diamond and emeralds. Oh, so CZ, you didn't catch it earlier, but I've got it so that it will set up a team if there's no team in the world. Right? So when the world loads, it looks to see if all 4 teams are there, and if they're not, it sets them up. And when it sets them up, it assigns the color to them also. So blue is blue, red is red, and so on. And everything has textures now, except for the tops of 3 blocks. The archery range, which will actually, it needs to be part of our original game we're going to play. And then the stables and research center, which does not have to be the first game we play. But it's a lot nicer now to look at than it was before, because it was a lot of missing textures before. Let's see, how am I going to code for this now? So we need to get the return value out of this. So boolean we could and all those together. That would work. They all need to be true. That would very well work. So result equals false. Wait, equals true. And then result equals result and whatever that is. And I keep doing that. And if any of them are false, it should return false. Return result. Okay, and then I can call this in here with an if statement on it. So if it has the needed resources, it will spawn the unit. But we also need to remove those resources, or consume them, we'll call it. Public boolean consume resources. Go into has needed resources, and we're going to use same logic as add resources to team, but we're going to modify it slightly to change the name basically to remove resources from team, and calling add resources we want to subtract, I guess, but
I'll be back.
okay. So just put a negative sign in front of it. Oop. No. No, 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 no. Spend resource, there it is. Calls has enough resources, cool. So has need resources needs to call has enough resources. resource and amount. Just for consistency. Did I think far enough ahead with this? I might have. Let's see. Did I define spend resources as returning true or false? I did. Cool. But we need to spend them all at once, so that won't work. Okay, fair enough. But what I can do, remove resource, we'll call it spend again. Spend resources for team. And we are going to do what on it? Spend resource. Resource and amount. And then we put that back into it, send the info to the client. We should be good. Okay, what's it airing off for now? Ah. Going to return true there. Rename it spend. And while we set up a return value, we don't need to actually use it. So there we go. So it should spend those resources to spawn the unit then. And then as far as setting this up for the other block currently, we just need to copy some code here. So we copy both of these methods, put them into the archery range block. I'm considering whether to make this an interface that you have to implement, so that spend resources and has need resources are defined in the interface, but they don't necessarily define what the guts of that interface is, or the guts of the method is. And all of these parameters need to be in there as well. So it's a little bit different. Archer. Let's just do this. We're going to highlight these lines, go Control F, go minion, underscore min ion. There we go. Now it should work for archers. And the barracks block, we got those 2 extra lines we need to do as well. So it's quickly coming to the point, CZ, if you're still there, where I'm going to need an archery range. Even if it's just a generic structure with really no blocks in it, except for the tile already. So we can test it out fully. Okay. I could make these abstracted even further, couldn't I? I'll come back to that probably. I could easily add the parameters to this for each one of these, and then I don't have to worry about anything. Then let's just list them out. Still have to list them twice though. So unfortunately it has resources needed. I could set it up like spend resources. So spend resources could contain all this first, and if it's true then it spends the resources. So you have to check them all, because you don't want to like have enough food but not enough wood and spend the food but not be able to buy the item, right? So that's why you have to check all of them in total to make sure you have all of everything you need before you spend any of them. Yeah. So this is adding resources now. Let's see. We need to look at our lumberyard. Do we have it set up to add resources? Oh, we do. Resource is... Okay, resource. Resource team. Oh, right. I forgot how I did this. Cool. So this should work. Because it's defined in this other superclass. No. It's not defined in the superclass. Those methods are set up in the superclass. That one. Nope. Resource gather. It was an interface. Because we have these defined, we can call them from other places in the code then, because they both have the common set of methods. So when we use our builder item to place this thing, we can load structures into world, and down here it says if it's a resource generator, it's an instance of resource generator, then we can set the resource based on the block that we're clicking on. And the block we're clicking on determines what it is. So if it's an oak, it's wood. If it's a grass block, it's food. If it's stone, it's stone. If it's iron ore, iron, so on. It's just coming together. I'm gonna need my project plan here, because I'm not sure what else we're gonna have to work on. If this works, I need to look at the project plan before I say, but I think this might be getting close to the end. I had 3 items that were to-dos. Resources required for units, startup items, and download the latest structure templates, which I currently have the latest, but I'm going to do it again, assuming we get the archery range done or make any changes to anything. And then it's just startup items, so when we click that start button, I need to do some actions. We might have this ready for this weekend, guys. For a test.
Probably won't have the archery range tonight.
Okay.
I'm working on my own project right now. But
Yep.
Fiery, you are welcome to build an archery range if you want to. If he's back.
I could even build an archery range that's a structure of a specific size with no blocks in it except for my block. That's all I need to test with.
Well, and you need you just throw some target entities in there and just
Right, true.
pick whatever size you want it to be and throw some target entities and your block in there. And we don't have a texture for that yet.
But I've set up the whole thing except for the top.
The side. Okay, yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. You saw how I was doing that. So.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, so if you look at my screen in the stream right now, everything has a texture except for the archery range top, the research center top, and the stables top. And those last two, we're not going to have in this Fridays because we don't have the mechanics for that stuff worked out. So everything will look appropriately once we get that top. I need to add the names to everything, but that's like one line of code. It's no big deal.
Oh, so it says MineSite instead of block.tsrts.MineSite block?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the blocks, they're their own sort of class, and they have a name property, and you're just not calling the name property.
So I'm defining what the code name of this is, but I'm not defining what the localization of this is. So the English version of this block's name.
Oh, okay. So that's another set of variables that you have to set up because you can change it to whatever language you want.
It's another file inside resources. So there's a lang folder and an en_us JSON that defines it.
Okay, and it just has like tsrts : MineSite block, and then it has a name for it.
Yep, so block.tsrts, barracks block, : and then the name that we actually want it to be in game.
Yeah.
So it's a simple file to create. That's why I'm like, it's one line code. I'll probably do it tonight.
Well, it's multiple lines of code. They're just very easy.
One line per
It's
block.
not actual code. It's just writing.
Yep. And the reason you want to do it this way is if someone were, say, Chinese, they could take this format with all of the blocks defined in it and just change this portion of it to the Chinese words, right? And then they would have their localization set up.
Yeah, that makes complete sense.
Can you make a Spanish version for me to understand?
You have to translate
you can
everything.
You can make a Spanish version. That's how easy it is.
Literally just type in the Spanish words over top of the English words in a different file.
This single text file. You could
are you
type
sure you
it
want-
to me, and I will put it in there, and you can just change your language.
Are you sure you want me to be the one typing words?
Never mind.
I'll Google Translate check it.
Google translate it back and be like,
I
baby
just-
carriage.
Oh my gosh, we're not putting this in the mod.
Town hall.
Actually,
My mom's house.
I found out that Google Translator is sometimes actually worse than me. So
Yeah, it's pretty bad
It's not
anymore.
great.
Yeah, I've gone down that path before. I would expect things to be getting better from Google, but they haven't been.
That one hasn't. It's gotten better. It can do the
Voice
Google
recognition,
Lens
though.
thing now, where you can just like point it at a Chinese menu, and it will just tell you what everything actually is. Real time.
I've never tried that. I should.
It works. You can,
Yeah, I
if
know
you're
about it, but it's-
overseas, you can point it at the road signs and things to figure out what it is.
Whole new level of texting and driving.
Yeah,
hey,
you can let your whoever your traveling buddy drive while you're pointing it. The navigator is the one that's going to be doing this tech. Come on.
Oh, okay.
hi right hand, Mr. Traveler buddy.
So this thing shouldn't spawn anything right now, if it's working. Oh, we should also, while we're waiting, look at the config. Make sure the config actually has these settings in it.
Do you have it set up to where you can just give yourself a bunch of resources for testing purposes?
No, that would be too smart.
You can. I assume you're going to set up a starting resources config so that you can just change it and reboot the world.
Gold, diamond. Where's food? Oh, dude, it's the one I'm highlighting. It like changed the order of them, I think. I thought food was first, but it's at the bottom. Maybe it does it in reverse order?
Food is first in my spreadsheet.
Yeah, food's first in my code, I thought.
Food is also first for me.
Food, yeah. Oh no! My find and replace failed me. Got this somehow. That's why it's only in there once. Minion, minion, minion. Let's restart the game now that was totally messed up. I'm surprised it didn't give us an error, but I guess it just did. I don't know. Oh, but they're both using the same config option, even though, so it's just loaded to two variables. So both the minion and the archer would have had the same amounts. Okay. Chat's very quiet tonight. I know people said hi and stuff, but nobody's talking.
They are cultivated by your beautiful voice.
Boo to you too, Ramon
Boo.
Rodriguez. Did I say it good?
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez.
Ro,
R,
like rod, road,
rod.
like the road on the floor.
Rod.
Okay, now I know you did.
I'm doing the R thing with the R's.
Rodriguez.
Rodriguez.
Rodri is like Madrid.
Ramon. Enrique. Rodriguez. Oh, I'm not gonna say the last name. How do you say that?
Quijano.
Quijano?
Quijano, yeah.
That's a J, not a H. I know it's
I
Spanish.
found out today or yesterday that most Spanish-speaking countries pronounce the pepper habanero, but there's one Spanish-speaking country that pronounces it habanero. Do you know which one?
America?
No, America isn't a Spanish-speaking country.
People speak Spanish here.
People speak Spanish, but it's like our country speaks English.
It's most common language, he means, I think. Or
Yeah,
first
let's say
language.
most common language, the first language.
Salvador.
No, it's not. It's actually the Dominican Republic. They pronounce jalapeno and habanero. It's H's for both.
Habanero. Habanero.
But habanero has an H.
Yes, exactly. It's weird.
They pronounce it correctly then.
They pronounce it the American way because we were talking about peppers at work, and
You know what
And we
probably
were-
happened?
Yeah?
Americans probably, or someone that was not native to Spanish speaking, brought the chilies over there, and that's why it's pronounced that way.
yeah, they
That's
must have learned how it was pronounced from an American who was pronouncing it wrong, and then they didn't learn the spelling of it until later on, and everybody just got used to saying habanero.
Exactly.
What all did we set up? So CZ, the spreadsheet for these guys might be a little bit off from what I would have expected. I would expect like the minions to be super cheap as far as not needing iron and gold, at least initially.
Wait, hang on, let me pull up the spreadsheet.
But I think we might have just thrown whatever in there.
I just threw value. I threw general values that I thought made sense. Because based on the production rates that I set. So the way that I started this is I said, how much production is the town hall going to give you? And in my head, I was just thinking, like, to play the game, I want the town hall to give me enough resources that I can start building some basic structures within a couple of minutes of play.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least. So I'm thinking you start out with some, let's give it, I just picked like 5, and then I said, well, I started with 1 or 2, or maybe 3, but then I wanted it to give you gold and diamonds at a very low rate, but I'm assuming the lowest number that we can put in here is going to be 1. I'm assuming we have to put integers in. That may not be correct, but for now, that's what I assume.
Integers.
So I'm working in integers. So I started out with that, just picking the town hall, and then I just kind of made up some numbers for what the individual resource gathering places are going to give you, and just kind of I scaled those to what I thought was appropriate, and then I just tried to pick cost based on how long it would take to earn those resources. So all of the purchase costs are set up like a farm. It takes 10 food, because I'm assuming it to build an additional farm after you've built your town hall and your initial stuff. You're going to have to wait at least 2 time epochs before you can afford another farm. So we don't have to stick with this, but that's just kind of the rationale for where it just started escalating to get to the cost, and then to get to the units.
So there's probably a couple assumptions you're making that you didn't know what I was thinking when I did it, or when I was thinking it. So
yeah, maybe not.
So I think initially you'll start with a set amount of resources and a town center, right? Mm-hmm. So you'll start with a town center. You might have enough resources, in my mind, to at least build the various resource gathering blocks, the basic ones, right? and a barracks, because I don't want you to have to spawn in and wait 10 minutes. I want you to spawn in and start playing right away. So I think you should be able to spawn a barracks and spawn in at least one food node and one wood or cobble, right? Maybe all three of those, wood, cobble, and food. Because I think the town center should give you a basic level of some resources, but I don't think it should be enough to really run your economy. You still want to go get those other resources.
Yeah, agreed.
And the idea behind the town center constantly giving you resources is if someone were to destroy your last food resource, you still have something there so that you can eventually build another food resource generator, right? I don't want it to be in game for you just because you've lost your wood resource, for example, generator. So there's that. And my thought on the actual units was food would be required for all of them, right? That way it's a minimum need that you have to meet to be able to build something. And that food requirement probably is more than what we've got on here, but the other resources are less or next to nothing, right? So I think for a minion, having maybe a food resource at like 25, right? That way you can't constantly be generating minions. You have to be able to get 25 food and then you can generate another one. The wood probably isn't anything, because why would you need wood for a person? Same for cobble and iron and gold, right? So for a basic minion, it might be just food. Then later on, once you unlock the tech for building weapons, maybe now you have an iron weapons unlocked. Maybe you then need 1 iron to build that minion with the sword. If you want to build the basic minion, you still can. It's just food. See where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I was thinking that you would have different minion. You would have a minion, and you would have like a sword minion, and maybe that knight or whatever we have in the sheet, and those would just be increasing costs.
Yes.
But then I'm also thinking like, what is the training cost of that minion? That's kind of why I have more than just food.
Gotcha.
Like you pay gold to hire a person to play, and then you have to pay them while you're quote training them, and then the resources that it takes to train a minion right now are 5 wood, 2 cobble, and 3 iron, and maybe like that's a mix of whatever practice swords and dummies and obstacle course that he's running through, or whatever kind of lore you want to make up in your head for it. I was thinking it takes more because you're paying for the quote training of that minion.
Agree. I mean, that makes sense.
Doesn't matter though. I'm not like married to these cost values, so we can change it to food and go with your way. If you have a fleshed out thought process for the economy, like we can start there.
I can't say that the values are fleshed out, but I can say
not the values, but you seem to have a good idea of we're going to start it this way, and then we're going to start building up, and this is how the game's going to play.
Yeah, I do.
Just run with that.
So the idea is there'll be kind of categories of these resources, right? And the minion's going to need food, right, as his main resource. And then the archer will also need food, but he's also going to need wood, right? So he's kind of a more expensive unit to build, because I kind of see the archer as being a little bit more powerful, right? Because of the range aspect to it. I always think a range unit's better.
Yeah, I agree.
Then maybe your knight's going to need food, no wood, and iron. So like based on what resources you're collecting kind of restricts which units you can start to build, versus you need all resources to build everything. So there's that strategy aspect of, if I can deny my enemy one specific resource, he can't create that unit type then, right? Whereas the alternative to that, if they all have a spread of resources that they need, then if I can deny my enemy one resource, he's dead, because he's not going to build any units. So it's a different way of playing and a different mechanic of how the battles will actually play out then, because denying wood might deny the enemy the ability to build and also the ability to build archers, right? So then I focus on mounted units because they can counter that. Maybe
You say deny, you mean like I've destroyed all of your wood farms?
I destroyed your wood farms, and maybe I placed my structures on top of them. Or if we get further into this and we have like a watchtower that kind of sprays out arrows at units coming at it or players, you plop down a watchtower over that, and it's denied because you can't get near it to build anything on it. Or maybe you send your army to just stand there, right? And you can't get near it to build it. That's what I mean by denying it.
Yeah, I would say you have a set like game play that you have in your head. Just to change all those values to fit whatever you think is going to work for that, and just run with that.
Okay.
If we run into any issues, we'll change it. I don't have any problem with that.
And you're spot on the changing part of it. That's why I'm building the unit cost from the ground up to require me to create the configs. I don't want to have to put this in code. This is going to be 100% in the configs. What the cost of all of these units are, what the amounts they're going to generate are, the town center is going to generate, the cost of buying anything is in town center, all configs. Because if another person comes along and says, Tech doesn't know what he's doing, but this would be awesome if we just had it at 50 instead of 10, they can do that.
Are you planning on putting like a game speed variable, like configurable option?
What would it be used for?
I'm thinking like if you and I want to test and we want to run through a couple of games really quickly to start iterating on these costs, we could play games at 200% speed where we're not really trying to think as tactically as we would if we're just playing the game for real. We just want to see how the economy will work. We don't have to wait as long.
It may not be one overall multiplier, but I was thinking of all the cooldowns that we were just talking about a little bit ago, putting those in configs as well. That way, if somebody's like, oh, this game plays too slow, you go in, you change the cooldown values of all of the resource generators to half as much, right? And then all of a sudden the game goes faster because you've got tons of resources.
I think that would be a good idea, because during testing, I see us playing many games and not necessarily playing tactically, but just trying to play through the economy,
it's all the
and
functionality
the tech tree,
there.
and testing every single unit on every single block. Like we'll want it to go faster. I can see us wanting it to go faster so that we can get through more iterations of it.
Yep. And right now I'm hitting one specific bug which drives me nuts. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, anyway, I'm gonna go back to my thing.
Okay.
You distracted me with spreadsheets.
Shiny. The one bug that I am hitting right now is in the renderer overlay. It shows the... I'll show it on the screen. It's easier to describe. So instead of having my overlay at the top that shows how much resources that you have, that's why I wasn't on a team. That makes sense. Okay, so are we getting resources is the question. If I can wait that long, gosh. You know what? /kill at A and respawn me, please. And I'm on yellow. I'm gonna ready. And I'm gonna start. I don't think start does anything, but I wanted to make sure that was set. So we're not getting resources, and I kind of expect us to. But I know why. Okay. So let's get the builder for iron. I need to set up some MBT saving stuff on these, I think. Let's see. Wait about 10 seconds, see if we get some iron here. Yep, cool. Eagles. Is spawn area you would require wood, like trees for wood, mines for gold. So, Reaper, to answer your question, it doesn't have to be in the spawn point. It can be further out. However, you need flat areas where these resource generators can be placed on them. And by placed on them, I mean you right-click it and it generates it on that side of it. So you can set up 2 on one resource node. The resource nodes are going to be iron ore, gold ore, oak logs for wood, grass blocks for food, and I fully anticipate big areas of grass to be defined, and you can place them down wherever you want. That's fine. Stone for cobble, emeralds for emeralds, iron ore for iron, diamond ore for diamonds, and I'm probably forgetting one, but you get the idea probably by now. The ones that are weird are the oak logs and the grass. Everything else is the ore version of it, except for cobble, which is smooth stone. And I'm also probably okay if smooth stone is a big area. Wood, I fully anticipate there being several wood nodes. They need to be on flat ground or on the same level as the rest of the flat ground. All of those. Okay, so we're up to 12. No. I've said it before in other streams. Go back, rewind. Okay, so we kind of need to get these other guys going, don't we? To test this. I'm eventually going to figure out what that bug with this thing not showing and showing over here instead. Lumber. What? No. What'd you build? Dang it. Is this thing too close? No way.
The entity can't be hit?
No, it's being hit. I can hear the noise. It's just not flashing.
Okay.
There it goes. Finally disappeared. I really don't think that's it, but I'm gonna try. Yeah, it's still not working. Why? Let's put another log over here. Whatever. It'll generate wood for us now. And then stone. And now we wait. Oh wait, farms. And now we wait. So we need to get 6 food, 5 wood, which we're almost there. 2 cobble, which we already got, and the iron and gold we already got. So we need to wait till we get 6 total food up here, and then one guy should spawn, maybe up to 10 seconds later, because I don't know that the cooldown's waiting. I think the cooldown is not waiting for the food. Basically, it's constantly resetting the cooldown. So we should get 6 food and then it just depletes it, if it was working right, to 0. And then it should wait 10 seconds after we get the 6 food, then it should deplete it, and we'll have a guy. There's our 6 food, let's wait 10 seconds. I don't see a minion yet. I bet I know why this thing didn't save its team. Let's get in the barracks. Plop. Now we wait 10 seconds and we should get a guy. It should drop. There we go. Our resources got spent. I seen the food go down. So while I'm waiting for the next one, it should go up to 6, then give us 10 seconds later. I think it's working. Resources are now required for units. And it's set up through a config.
Does it just spawn as many as you have resources for?
Yes. Once you get the resources for it, it'll respawn it. Now we need to, at some point, disable that and basically make it so that you click a button, queue them up, and it works through that queue as it has resources.
Yeah. I think there should definitely be a queue, and then you just click however many. Maybe you set a limit for the queue, but you just click however many of whatever type of minion you want. Does the barracks have an interface? I forget.
It does, but it's just this debug one for me.
Okay. We'll have to make one that has a bunch of different buttons then.
Yes. I think for now it makes sense to keep it with text buttons, but it would be nice if we had image buttons where it was a picture of a minion or something like that that indicates what you're trying to recruit.
Yeah,
visually.
Like each minion kind of needs a little sprite that you can, like you can have a button that has the sprite and then has the name of it, or you can just have the sprite, like just a tiny little thing.
I could even see like a sword or a fist, right, in this one. And like as you have the different classes of them as they go up in armor and stuff like that, maybe the sword's a wood sword or stone sword or a gold sword, you know, that kind of thing.
Would sprite images be displayed at a 1-to-1 scale, like the textures for the blocks are? Like if you have a 16 by 16 pixel picture of a minion head or something,
I would have
be
more
16.
control over that than other places, because that's my own code basically drawing the picture on the screen and everything, so we could do whatever we needed to. You got something in mind?
No, I'm just trying to think broadly, like abstractly. I would assume that we want to probably make a sprite for each one, and we want the sprites to be a standard size.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll want the size to be large enough that we can draw enough detail to match all of the units that we're going to want to make. And so that might be 16 by 16, it might be 32 by 32, it might be 64 by 64. I don't think it would be more than that.
I don't think that 64 we would have enough space, right? So this gray space that's on my screen now is a 255 by 255 area. So if we went 64 by 64, you're already taking up a good portion of that for one button with no white space between any other button that it might be adjacent to. If that makes any sense.
But you said you can scale them, right?
You can, but as you scale things, you'll start losing fidelity of it, I guess is what I want to say.
Okay, so the GUI is still like it is set at 255 by 255.
For this one,
increase the resolution of the GUI.
Not really, no. I mean, I could do a scale down on it with a bigger image size. If that makes sense to you. So like I could say, okay, this is 512 by 512, but draw it at 50% resolution. Like scale it 50% down. So it'll pack the pixels tighter on the screen.
Yeah, but that's the same as me just drawing pixel art at 32 by 32 instead of...
Right, that's what I was saying. If we get too big and we have to scale them down, then the fidelity is kind of lost because it's just scaling it down to 32 anyway. Yeah.
So I think whenever we get to that, we'll probably want to set a standard sprite size of probably 32, just so we can get a little bit more detail. And if that will work, and if not, if we place 3 or 4 of them down and we start to see, yeah, we're going to want a couple more units in here and we just don't have enough space, we can try 16 by 16.
Yeah, and that's where I kind of need to do a wireframe of this too, as to what it should look like. Just not with actual pictures or anything, but like just lay out the screen, because I think there's going to be a queue, right? So that needs to be displayed somehow visually, like what's in your queue of what's being built. And let's say we have up to 5 slots in the queue, so there's 5 pictures right there if we do this graphic based. And then after that, we'll need a place where you can click on the buttons to add them to the queue. So you'll need a button for each type. And if we have options for each of those types, instead of, so there's 2 routes, right? We could go basic minion, minion with stone sword, minion with armor, minion with diamond armor, right? And those could have different names for them, right? Like what they actually are, and there's like no option between switching out his diamond armor and let's say a stone sword, right? That could be an option where you can just pick and choose each armor piece and which thing he has in his hand, right? Or we could have them preset, right? So each one of those kind of has a different set of buttons that would be required to allow you to select that, if that makes
I'm
any
back.
sense. Hey, Fire.
Sorry, I had to take a shower.
No worries.
All I can say is it's about time.
All I can say is,
Just because I don't shower.
You
doesn't
have
mean
no
it's dirty.
idea, Susie. Okay, I got home last night and came home and realized that the bathroom was tore apart.
I'm fun.
So, yeah.
That happens.
This was after working for 10 hours in a concrete plant. So, no shower last night.
So Tech, it may be helpful for you to just physically draw these out to scale on a piece of paper.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And yeah, and just draw little squares and smiley faces and things for different icons, and just make sure that it's all roughly proportional to what the GUI size is, and we can draw a couple of different variants and see which way you want to go.
Yeah, and I think, I guess that could help me make the decision on which way to go, but I also, if I knew which way I was going, then I could figure out how to fit it in the area. So maybe I could do 2 of them, I guess.
I would lean towards, like you have the layout, you have the armament of each unit is set. You're gonna buy a minion, and a minion has no weapons and no armor. You can buy one with a sword, then maybe you can buy one with some iron pants, and you can buy one with full iron armor. Whatever the layouts you want it to be, I would say that they're set for that.
Yes. And that makes sense to me. The only benefit of the other way is it lets you be a little bit more flexible with your spending, I guess. Right? You could say, I want my guys to be OP in attack, so I'm going to give them diamond, but no armor. Diamond sword, no armor. I
think that's where you just have different unit types. You just call them something different and then give them
Right.
that loadout. You have some that are really great in attack, but they're not good at defending because they have no armor. And you can have some that have really great armor, but they have like a really crappy weapon.
Yes. So, does that mean we end up with 15 buttons on the screen? Or I guess I'm in total control of it. I just don't know what's the right option, though. Because I don't know how it will play. And we need to also define the cost for each of those, too. There's still a lot to be done for this to be complete. But for this, it doesn't matter, right? For the initial test,
Testing,
we're going to have a
need
minion with no weapon. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good advice, Below the Stone. Good reference. Okay, so I've made a note on my to-do list that I need to save the team and all this resource information to MBT data so that when we walk away and come back, these things still collect the resources. What else do I need to do? I need to start up items, start up resources. I think for the first round of this, when you hit the start button, it's going to give you the resources and it's going to give you the items, and it's going to dump everybody at the same spawn point, right? I don't foresee it making any sense, at least to me, to how we're going to set up a spawn point for this. So everybody starts at spawn, and then you go run in your 4 directions and play. We'll have to deal with food. Maybe initially we'll just give us food, like a stack of steaks.
Okay, I have a couple questions. This is going to be played on created maps, right?
Probably the very first map will be a super flat world, because
Not if I can help it.
we won't have a map.
Not if I can help.
It should be a super flat just to make things simple, because we don't know how pathfinding is going to work with some of these units, and then
They should
how,
pathfind. I did some testing with the minions pathfinding on a regular world.
with mobs. Like, do mobs attack them? You have some mobs there now.
No, they don't attack them. They're another mob to the
Okay,
game.
Well,
Not if I can help it.
Okay, maybe we'll have a map, but I would still say let's keep it simple and do a super flat.
I'll make a map that's super flat.
my first question, or my second question, is in light of of a created map. Is the map going to be equal on every side?
That is up to the map maker.
Because then that's going to become an unfair advantage.
Well, it's up to the map maker. And so I'm saying it that way because I can foresee a game mode where it makes sense to not have even redistribution of resources, right?
Yeah.
Let's-
Siege the castle.
Yeah, exactly. So take the old ancient warfare map that we had, right, with the castle in the center and then the big wheat field outside. Put one player inside there and also throw in his town center and all of his buildings that he would need to play with, right? Let that be his area. Let him open a chest that gives him all the builder items or something, right? And that's how he starts. He starts fully defended, basically. And then everyone else has to build up and team together to work against this guy, right? So a 3v1 kind of scenario. Or it could be a completely even match map where all resources are the same. No, don't click on him. Attack the spider, guys.
But what you're trying to say, Tech, is that you want the system to be flexible.
Yes.
In the spirit of Minecraft, in that you can do whatever you want with it. But for our initial testing, most of our testing, it just makes sense to use a flat world where we can do whatever we want, wherever we want. And if we were going to play this weekend, I would probably say let's just all be in creative.
No.
Unless that's going to have problems with gameplay.
No.
Well, we're kind of going to have to, because otherwise how are we going to get the resources?
But the resources you don't mine.
Yeah, it would be just a food thing is why I was saying to be in creative. And to fly, like what Tech is doing now.
I get that we don't mine, but what about the resources to run the stuff?
But okay, so on my to-do list is to give you startup items. Those startup items is going to be this baton, this saber. It's going to be a town center builder, and it's going to be builders to make a few of the resources, like iron, gold, wood, food. And from those, you go buy more resources from the town center. You buy more buildings from the town center.
Right, but what about where are we going to put those resources on? I'm saying there's not going to be any resources on the map unless they've suddenly started creating super flats with...
Right.
Ores
So
on the
we'll need to
surface.
have those nodes somewhere in the map, yes. but that takes us all of about 5 minutes to go plop them down somewhere in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I was saying we're gonna have to have creative, you know, just so we can set the map up.
Yeah. So what I'll probably do is I'll create a super flat, even in single player, and then just push it to the server that has the nodes in it. It shouldn't take more than 5 minutes to put the resources in, but to give it thought, maybe a half hour, right? So that they're not horribly unbalanced or something.
All right.
It's a good point. We will need that.
Do we have a date that we're testing?
Optimistically, which might be very optimistically, this weekend. What day is it? Is it Tuesday?
So next week, and is that what you're telling me?
Today's Tuesday. Saturday night.
It might be a horrible test. Let's put it that
It
way.
is going to be a horrible test.
But it
like
will be a
2
test
minutes.
nonetheless.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 minutes where like 2 or 3 or 4 of us get into a world and we can set down structures and technically play the game.
Yes, and someone will
attack
want
your
to
own
rage
structure?
quit. Yeah, I don't have it set that you can. It doesn't check who what team the
That's
target's on.
interesting. Feature.
Yeah. Well, you can also, if you misclick, tell them to beat up on one of your own guys.
Yeah. If I'm on Tech's team and he pisses me off, I can just go kill all of his army.
Mm-hmm.
Feature.
Oh, that's great. That's perfect.
Friendly
Great.
fire
So
is on.
if any of my minions act up, I can just kill them.
Basically. You get one stuck and you need another and you don't want to cause more lag, kill it. Oh, awesome! It worked! I wasn't expecting it to do that. I forgot it. We had that set up. That's awesome. The barracks collapsed when I killed it.
Oh, you forgot that it was set up to do that?
I forgot we had programmed that all in.
It's like, oh, that's really... Oh, yeah, I forgot that we did that.
Spent like a week working on that. And it despawned on its own like it should. And I'm now going past 6 food like it should. Everything is working. We probably should move this fire up off of the ground too, so they don't run into that one from their pathfinding. Because if I go, click over there, oh, wait, that's too far, I guess.
I mean, maybe, but...
I'm just afraid they're gonna
I have to
just
place- I have to
naturally
place
pathfind through
6
it.
blocks to do that, Tech.
Oh, that's true. You do have to place more than one thinking.
Why, can they actually get damaged from it?
Yeah.
Before, they were just queuing up and they would push each other into the fire, and you would have some units die while they were just waiting to be deployed.
Because they'd all just
That's
start
why.
pushing, right?
Yeah, I put it on that stone block just because I didn't know what else to do, because I kind of wanted the fire, because it's like a campsite, but there was no other way with just 1 or 2 blocks to actually fix it.
When they're in a line like that, they really march well.
They
Okay,
look good.
there they went on derp after I said it.
They still look good on stream. Okay, now they derped.
And about face. No, I didn't click on him. Dang it. That's gonna be a problem. I have to fix that. But that's not for this weekend necessarily a showstopper.
Well, that shouldn't
Don't
be too hard. I
let-
mean, just it's all it is probably a line of code, right? Just
Maybe.
no can't target self team, whatever, something along that line.
Hopefully. Okay, so what I don't have is okay. So all of these things are generating resources right now. If I were to just log out and log back in, my resources are gone. I don't know that that's a problem though, because in single player, it's just because the game shut down, basically, right? And I don't have any way of saving this because it's not tied to a block, what resources are. Now, if we were on a server and you disconnect and reconnect, the game should still know how much resources you have. But other things are going to kind of probably go a little bit wacky. So disconnecting might be buggy-ish. So we'll want to try and stay connected once we start a game, at least for the first test.
You heard that, people. Get good.
Yeah, get good internet. Don't get disconnected. Actually, I don't think I've tested killing all of these, have I? Let's get a real sword. Okay, what starting items should we have?
Chicken egg.
For anyone besides Reaper to answer.
What's starting what?
Items.
Command saber, town hall, maybe an actual sword, unless you want to make the command saber be equivalent to an iron sword.
Testing.
I would say for sure the command saber, a town hall, and enough resources to get the basic resource gatherers to get the rest of it.
Right, right. So
if you
True.
wanted, I'd probably say wood and maybe food.
yeah, I think we should start with a base number of food, a base number of wood, and a base number of cobble. Because I think those three resources are probably going to be the main things that we use for building objects, like structures. We might have iron and gold in there as well, but I think if we give you enough resources to be able to build a miner for iron, that's okay, right? Because iron's kind of like a advancement, right? So having those three basic resources in a significant number so that you can get started is important. So what do we have for our stats here on the structures and buildings as far as what the costs are? And I know we kind of just threw this in here, not putting too much thought into it. So town hall has 0 because you're not going to really build one right off not in this game mode, not in the initial stuff. Okay, so farms are going to be 15 wood, 5 cobble, and 10 food. Okay. A lumberyard's 10, 10, 15, and 5 iron. If we have that, then that means we need to start with iron.
Well, your town hall generates some iron. That was the thought process behind that. So it's based off, if you click in there, it's based off how much iron you get per game epoch.
I did not see the production rate section.
Yeah, I added that too. So we can, if you change the stuff on the right, then the stuff on the left will change proportionally. And what I added also in the middle there is the normalized cost, which is just a sum of squares. And so you can see that my goal in the middle was to increase the cost overall as you get more and more advanced. And I was thinking barracks and archery range would be quite expensive. But again, you can change this however you want. But the normalized cost is a helpful feature to check and make sure that as you're switching up, this one costs a lot more food and this one doesn't cost very much wood. Like, it doesn't make sense for an iron mine overall to be much cheaper than a farm.
That's what your normalized cost is trying to represent. Sorry, I didn't catch what that was. Okay.
Its normalized cost says this one overall costs
53 units.
Is worth more overall than this other one.
Gotcha. So you're doing basically a distance calculation type thing. Okay. Some of them all squared. Okay. What was I trying to say? Requiring iron for an iron farm means if your last iron farm is destroyed and you're out of iron, you're dead. Unless...
No, your town hall generates iron, so you're not dead.
And it generates it fast enough, okay. I'm
It
willing to
generates a
use
little
these
bit every
numbers to give it a try because I don't know that I have a better set of numbers already calculated, and this
Yeah,
gives
it
me
doesn't
something to
look-
go off
It
of.
doesn't look bad. I mean, seriously.
I think maybe just give everybody enough starting resources to build a barracks and maybe a farm. And then if you want to do that, you can. If you want to focus resources at the beginning, you want to take a bet that your enemy isn't going to actually attack you from the get-go, you could just plop down a bunch of resources. And I would say that's why the barracks is expensive. You give them all those resources and you can allocate it however you want.
Yeah, unless Gage is one of the testers, then expect him to attack you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you're right, Fiery, and seeing these values helps me mentally because I need help mentally, I guess. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking things like, okay, if we take a starting value of resources of 10 for a farm, 10 for lumberyard, and 44 for barracks, those are the three I think that you should be able to plop down right off the bat. Right, you should be able to buy those. So that's 64. If I round that up to the next kind of evenish number in my head, I think that's 100, right? Because then if we say a unit is 25 or whatever food, you can buy a unit, and by the time that you get everything going, you're going to have another unit there too, right? So you'll have two defensive minions to help out. Now, what I see to counter that thought, though, is you could immediately also build an archery range if it's at 100. Because you could build both of those and this, and it's 108, and your thing's going to, every 10 seconds, give you 5 wood, or 5 food, for example. And I know I'm only looking at the one resource here, right? There's also the wood aspect. Yeah, let me do something here real quick. I'm already streaming longer than I probably should. But, come on. Auto sum. We take those two and that. Gives us the 64, and if I run this across. So we have 64. So if we made that 100 starting, and this one was 100 starting, and cobble, let's say 75, iron at 50, gold at 25, what's that do for us? So if we subtracted out what we would spend to get those 2 resource gatherers, we would be left with these resources. So you couldn't immediately build another archery range. Wow, Itchy. That sounds like a serious problem. I'm gonna let YouTube go ahead and block that one like it wants to. That only gives us 5 extra wood, so having the lumberyard would be good, so that you start getting more wood. Then you'll have 18 cobble, but do we need the cobble? You still need cobble for this. I think those might be our numbers, guys. 100 food, 100 wood, 75 cobble, 50 iron, and 25 gold. Just as a place to start with.
It's fine to start with. None of us can really say, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Right.
We just need something to get going.
That doesn't make any sense.
Except for Reaper, which doesn't matter. In fact,
Just because a gold shower doesn't mean it's 30.
I love that, bud.
Did you just mute him?
No. So I know you guys aren't listening to the stream. So I have a button that is my soundboard, and there's one called Dirty Reaper. And it's a clip of Reaper from when he was on stream with us, and I captured it from the stream later on, where it says,
Just because I don't shower doesn't mean it's dirty.
Just because I don't shower doesn't mean I'm dirty.
Okay, hang on. Play it again.
Just because I don't shower doesn't mean it's dirty.
There you go. So anytime Reaper does some trolly thing, I just go,
Just because I don't shower doesn't mean
hit
it's
that
dirty.
button.
Yeah, that's great.
I've also got,
Here we go.
and of course, the famous,
Subscribe now.
and a couple other ones too, but I won't hit them all.
Welcome.
I know I'm being quiet and you shouldn't do that on a stream, but I'm trying to think if there's a reason to not go with these resources, and I can't think of one. And I'm going to put them in a config anyway, and it doesn't matter, because we'll just change the
go for
config. The thing is, with the configs the way they are, I set the default value for that config in my code. So if the default value is bad, I have to change code anyway. And I kind of want it to be somewhat balanced in the defaults for the game overall. But I guess for us to quickly figure out what those defaults should be, it's much easier because we can change the configs and restart the server or whatever.
Huh. You know what I forgot to do actually? Was restart my server. Because I had to restart my computer earlier. Oops.
That'll do it.
Sorry,
Okay.
Zach.
I've got this written down, so I don't need to keep this in the spreadsheet, cluttering up the spreadsheet. Wood, cobble, iron, gold. So no diamonds, no emeralds to start with, and I think that's appropriate. I think we're going to use gold for buying things at the town center and emeralds for buying things at the market when we get that far. So emeralds will not probably have a resource generator, even though we set one up.
So, since we're far enough into the development that we could start throwing ideas out, how about a mercenary hut?
We just buy
We have-
resources, buy units for gold.
Yep.
We have
And
an
we-
idea capture spreadsheet.
But you haven't
we
given
can-
it
I
to
can-
Fiery.
I was just about to say I can send it to Fiery. I just don't know his email. So please say your full
Just-
email on stream.
You won't get spam.
Discord chat don't work?
Can I? Let me get a shareable link. Anyone with the link can edit, but I'm only gonna send it to Fiery.
Yes, do not mention it or show it on the stream.
I'm just gonna post it in stream.
Put it in the stream chat, please.
Maybe just put that in the stream chat. So there you go, Fiery. I just sent you the link to the infamous spreadsheet. And then if you go all the way over on the right, you can see all of the ideas that we have. You can see all the info on the front page of me talking about game mechanics, and you can add to your heart's content. Try not to override other people's stuff.
Oh no, Bellowstone, that is not done. That is very early stages.
Game dev document. Okay, I'm not a developer. What's a game dev document? Is it like a manual?
I'm assuming means like a game design. Basically, our
So-
spreadsheet, I think, is what he's talking about.
Which
Is it
tab
like
would you
the-
like me to put like that idea into?
Brainstorming / idea capture. You can just pick a cell there and just add it on in, just like we've been doing.
Okay, doke.
So game dev document is like a full game wiki sort of thing, or like documentation for code where you're saying this is all the methods that you have and stuff.
I think what he means is our spreadsheet. But I don't know for sure.
it sounds more official than that if it has a 3-letter acronym. It's like a mini wiki. Okay.
Yeah. Well, and you've talked about that before, Bloodstone, where you guys are doing it differently, and it makes sense that you're doing it that way, and your reasoning is sound. We got to the point where we needed the numbers to code it in, right? So that's why we created this. Oh.
Well, and Tech and I both had so many ideas, and we just had I just had to start writing them down, and I was bored at work.
We don't have the size of the archery range, do we? No.
How do you remove entities like items on the floor? What's the command for that?
So /kill, and then @E, and then the left square bracket, and I'm typing this on stream, by the way, as I said, is type equals Minecraft item, right bracket. In fact, here, I'll run this in my world. It killed 70 entities. That sounds about right. I put it in the Discord for you. Control group still work? Awesome. Let's see, so if I did fire, flint. So I would like to add a turret as a entity, I think, and also add sorry, let me type this at a ding 100 10,000, sure. Teleport myself 10,000 blocks away. So I'm gonna have these guys walk into that and then teleport myself away so that when they die, I'm not there. Awesome, and it still updated this number. That's what I was looking for. You can make the walls with 1 block that's on the only damage by minions. Yeah, so blocks are a little bit... So walls themselves I would like to have, but this whole mechanic of being able to damage them with the entities that we have makes it a little bit more complicated. I was going to do like a 1x1 by like 5 wall out of bricks. Like say these bricks.
So much less lag.
2, 3, 4, like that, right? And we'd have a builder for that would just spawn that in when you click, and you could just go boop, 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 and spawn them in real quick, right? To build walls. But the problem with that is those entities. We would need that entity somewhere in the structure, and I'm afraid things are going to try and pathfind through that entity because it is an open space there. And that's a whole other can of worms we don't want to deal with. And not for this first version. Now, the other piece of it is I'm considering making watchtowers. So, like, say something that has a footprint maybe like this, right? Where there's a door there, and it goes up, I don't know, let's say at least that tall, and it's got spots for your minions to poke out and shoot their bows. Or maybe a fixed entity that can't move around the world that can shoot out. And it's just a watchtower, and it stands guard over that area. And it would still have the mechanics of the other structures where it's got the blocks at the bottom that are entities that are targets for the opposing team to try and damage. No, I didn't want to do that. Crap. TP. Let's teleport myself back the other direction, I guess. That will work. There's still 2 minions here. Cool. So we did Z. And the whole idea of that watchtower isn't that the player is placing those blocks. They have one of these things, right? And when they... Where is one I can spawn? They have one of these things and they just right click and it spawns the whole tower and everything. I like the town center is a good one. And they just get a thing. So think Age of Empires. That's how Age of Empires works. Well, there is a build time in Age of Empires, but we're not taking build time into effect in this. Not yet.
Yeah, at one point we were thinking that each block would be placed. I don't know if that's still a possibility, but you just have like every single block just start appearing very rapidly, and that's just the build time.
It might be laggy to do that, but it's a possibility down the road, maybe.
I don't know that it's needed, but it's
And
another really cool graphic.
easier mechanic would be multiple structures, one for each layer,
No.
and we build each layer up.
Too many structures.
Not enough structures.
I don't want to build more.
Yeah, I know.
Please don't make me build more.
They're no different than what you've got now, though. It's just it places them one after another.
Yeah, you would start at the destructed state and then build it up to the damaged and then build it up to the pristine.
No, I'm saying take the full state and just the first layer, and then the first 2 layers, and then the first 3 layers, and then the first 4 layers, and the first 5 layers,
that's what
and
you're
6
saying.
layers, 7
Okay.
layers.
For the destructed ones, please tell me you made the full building and then after that just TNT'd it once, and then that's the
No.
damage one, and then you did TNT again, and that's the second level damage.
No, not at
Well,
all.
the town hall is basically the only one that has a damaged and a ruined state,
Oh,
and I kind of just like set it on fire and like punched holes in the walls and made it look like it was really damaged. Tech can show it to you on stream.
Yeah, I'm doing it now. So that's the damage state, the first damage state of the town hall. And once I
It
can
kind
kill
of looks
the-
like holes have been blown in it. There's smoke coming out of stuff. It'll work for now.
And here's the fully destroyed state. And after a little bit, the fully destroyed state disappears. Eventually, maybe.
What's the despawn time set at right now?
Thought it was 10 seconds. There it is. Maybe it's 30, I don't know. I think it's set shorter for probably than what we'll actually have it be, because it's not much of a penalty right now. I need to add one more thing to my spreadsheet, my to-do list, and then I need to stop. So where we're saving the tile entity data, I need to edit this. Also save reference to the target blocks, target entity IDs. So right now it's not saving them. That's why if I were to kill, say, these two, it's not going to despawn or anything. Oh my gosh, it did. Probably because it's at spawn. But if I were to reload this world, they wouldn't work. They wouldn't despawn at all. How long do I think I'll be streaming for? I'm done. So I gotta get to bed. It's almost 10 o'clock, and I get up early anymore. So, good night, everybody. Bye. Don't forget to
Subscribe now.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Bye.